everybody, welcome back to 100 Blocks in 2025. We're very close, we're almost done. Today is block number 106 in my my quilt. I have passed the challenge of making 100 blocks. We're heading on up to making 112. So today is 106, and as I said in the last two videos, this one's going to be related. So let's take a look at what we've done and what we're going to do today. All right, so if you remember, 2 videos ago, we did block number 12 in Tula's book, which was our plus sign block. And in the last video, let me see if I can flip this correctly, we did block number 15, which was 2 plus signs. So today, we're gonna go right in the middle to block number 13, and this block is 4 plus signs. So it's just going to be assembled a little bit different. So if you remember from the first block, let's take a look at it. We had to assemble our plus sign first and then add our 2 side pieces, and then we could add the top and the bottom. And if we look over at block number 15, which is our double plus sign, we had to assemble this section to attach our square. Same thing down here, and then we had to put our sections here in the middle. So it kind of was like a 3-row quilt, and then we added our sides and our top and our bottom. So for block number 13, we're gonna have a totally different pattern from that, weirdly enough. So what I've chosen to have here today is my dark blue background. I need a block that sort of floats between blue and purple. So I chose some very light fabrics in the blue range that lean towards the purple range. So, and then I chose this heavy navy as the background. So let's lay out the block, and we'll start with the center square, which is 2.5 inches square. This is our only square in the center, and we're gonna kind of put this together in 5 rows. So let's start with our center row. And then we have alternating colors here for our plus signs. They're going to go in opposite sides of the block. So I'm going to start on this side by just placing my 2 1.5 inch squares. So to make this block, we're going to need, for our plus signs, we're going to need 1.5 by 3.5 inch rectangles, 2 of each color. And we're going to need 4 1.5 by 1.5 inch squares, 4 of each color. That's going to give us our plus signs. And then for our background, we have a 2.5 inch square. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 1.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 1.5 inch squares. So that's what you're going to need for this block. So I'm going to take my alternating squares, I'm going to put them here, so here's where we are, and then I'm going to take one of my 1.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles and put it there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, they're just going to be opposite. So let's put those in. All right, and then we'll do our rectangle. So that gives us our center row. So then to start, our next section on the top is going to be that same color rectangle. So we're going to need a rectangle that is this big, and a rectangle, that is this big for the other side. And those 1.5 by 3.5 inch rectangles are gonna wind up being the whole row across. And then we're going to need to place our backgrounds in the center here. So we're going to put our background rectangle there. We need the square for the top of this plus sign, and then a background square. And then on the other side, we're going to need a square of the other plus sign fabric, and then another background square. And then we're going to repeat that on the bottom. So you see we have our opposite colors on the bottom. So I need my rectangle here and here. And then on the bottom, I'm going to need my background, then whatever square finishes this plus sign, and whatever one finishes this plus sign, and then the 2 corner background squares. So to assemble this quilt, this block, We can actually start at the top if you want, and we can just sew this row together. And we can sew this row together. And then we have to start with this row, which is kind of like a pieced row here. We have to add these two squares together and then sew this to this unit, to this, to this unit, to this. And then that row is finished. And then we sew this row and this row. And then everything goes together. So let me get the rows sewn together and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. All right, guys, this time I remembered to stop before I put the sections together. But here you go. Here's what we're looking at here. So you can see how I put everything together in rows. So I just had this little bit of piecing here in order to get this row together. And so now we just go down the 5 rows and we're going to wind up with our beautiful double plus block. So let me go ahead and finish it and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, we've sewn all the rows and here we go. I really like how this one turned out. Kind of like a fence block almost, but in 2 distinct colors. So this one was super fun, super easy, and related to all the others that we did. So isn't that fun how we kind of jumped around a little bit and did all 3 of those plus sign blocks. This one was great to use with scraps. Highly recommend making this one in a bunch of different colors because it was just fun. It was just fun. It doesn't take a lot of fabric. Also, none of these really take a lot of fabric. They're super fun making these little 6-inch blocks. So now that we've come to our 106 block, I have 6 more blocks that I need to make, and I have an idea for exactly how I'm going to make them. And this one is not going to be in any of the books we talked about. This one is straight out of me. This is straight out of my All Scrapped Out series of books, and I wanted to have fun with it. And a lot of people ask me when I do these presentations on All Scrapped Out, how I go about making these blocks. So my 107th block is going to be totally kind of off the rails, but we're going to use a lot of the things that we have left over from all the things that we've made so far. So I really hope you'll join me for the next video because I think this one's going to be really fun. If you love scraps, it's going to be really fun. So definitely come back and watch. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. You know, we want to reach as many people with these little lessons as possible. And I know a lot of you have not hit that subscribe button yet. So please do. It helps the algorithm. It helps the channel. You can definitely come over to cabinquilters.com. We have a lot of retreats and some fabrics for sale and a quote cruise coming up in 2027. And if you're just finding the blocks now, you can head over to the YouTube channel at Cabin Quilters and find the 100 Blocks of 2025 playlist, and you can see all the videos. You can watch them all. They're really great. I promise you, you're going to love them. So I'm going to see you guys in the next one. So until then, happy quilting.